It's Keegan, and I'm sitting on the roof. Well, it's my deck, or terrace, as they call it here in Europe. I'm in Montenegro, in the city of Bar, and I'm going live on Instagram right now, so we can be live multiple places. Hello, hello. Blessings out there to everyone that may be tuning in to the live or the recording. It's Keegan, and I'm in the first Freedom Cell in Montenegro, which I have established here at my apartment. This is the roof terrace, and I'm planning to do some gardening here. Very exciting. Well, I'm already starting. I've got compost happening, got some seeds sprouting. Arugula is on its way. And I want to tell a story. Um, because I reached an interesting milestone yesterday, and I want to share about that. As some of you may know, I'm doing a weekly Aquarian Renaissance Roundtable on Zoom that's broadcast live to the YouTube where I'm broadcasting this, Law of the Earth, because that's who we are, the living law of the earth, through the agreements we make, the ones we accept. We are creating, whether it's by our own design or by somebody else's design, in which we become puppets. And that's the mainstream reality, actually. And this is a realization that I came to years ago. Originally, I want to tell the story of my progression through this awareness, and it all started for me with permaculture. That was kind of my introduction to the realization about sovereignty and the concept. And it was actually coming to me first through self-sufficiency. I I discovered permaculture while I was doing a bike tour here in Europe in 2012, and learning about how people grow lots of different kinds of food, and pollinator plants and beauty, and how they can move themselves towards self-sufficiency on the land. And so this was an interesting concept for me to come across after being, raised in the modern society where we get food from the grocery store. Some of us get lucky enough we get it from the farmer's market. Some of us are lucky enough to, to be in a farming family and to have that connection with the land. And that is a blessing, and increasingly rare. Has been increasingly rare. But since we're going through an Aquarian Renaissance right now, since people, now I'll skip ahead the story to 2020, people are waking up, right? They are moving back to the land in a much bigger way than they were. So, when I came to the realization about our disconnection from the land and our need to reconnect in 2012, it's something that I understood kind of in my peripheral understanding before that as well, going into high school, and just not understanding how cars, like how our society is designed for people in cars, right? More than people walking around, especially in the States. So I grew up in California. But so when I found permaculture and I saw that there were people out there, working towards self-sufficiency on the land, and how to actually have a relationship where we're providing for ourselves, where that used to be the norm. And in some places it's still the norm, for example, in Vanuatu, right? Places like where people are still very connected with the land and provided for themselves. That was my introduction to sovereignty. And if I ever thought of the term before then, I would probably thought of it in terms of nations, which is the general general definition that we get, about sovereignty, that it has to do with nation states. And that's because we are in a paradigm of nationalism, right? The nation has the corporate state nation, meaning it's a it's a business that's all about GDP and jobs and economic growth. Has supplanted the family, really, and that's it's in process of supplanting the family, and it's supplanted the tribal family, where we used to live in villages and have tribes, and now it's like people think of their tribe, right, as their country, or their or maybe their political party or something like that, rather than belonging to a tribe that's working together for survival. So anyway, to move on with my story of sovereignty and how I grew into understanding of it, and I'm still growing in my understanding, and I have some revelation that I just discovered last night that I want to share. That's the reason I'm broadcasting right now. But kind of the next evolution that I went through was in 2013. I got deeply into permaculture. I had the opportunity to live in Costa Rica, where I was on a farm retreat center that produced almost all of its own food, right? A large amount. Obviously, we still wanted our modern kind of luxuries, having pasta and such that we didn't grow there, but just seeing what was possible and understand, wow, this is self-sufficiency, and seeing the local people, how they live, where I was in Punta Mona on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. So that was in 2013. And then the following year, I dropped out of college. I had the feeling that this was just a bunch of brainwashing and just a waste of my time. And so that was frustrating, because it's such a higher education, right? It's on a pedestal in people's minds, that going to college is a big thing, and it has its wonderful opportunities and its wonderful benefits. And I neglected to get those benefits because I dropped out. It wasn't resonating with my soul. So I went instead to massage school in California in 2014. And I'm that was kind of the beginning of my healing journey. Although permaculture is a healing thing with land regeneration, and I had already gotten some experience with the healing arts while I was volunteering there at Punta Mona. People giving Thai massage workshops and practicing yoga. But why am I telling you about massage school? Because of the thing of license. After I got my certificate, 250 hours of massage school, they said, now in order to go work, you need to get a massage license to show that you're credible. I'm like, why do I need that? I got the certificate. So what do I need a license? I get a certificate and then I get a license. I'm like, this isn't, why should I bother? And I didn't understand it at that time at an intellectual level about licensing, which since then I've learned, licensing is a product of military occupation, of corporate domination and control of the colonial paradigm, saying that you cannot trade and sustain yourself economically. It's against the law unless you get a license from us, so that you can pay, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, right? Living in a global empire, going back to Rome and going back before to Babylon. It is the mystery Babylon. And so I didn't get a license, and I didn't become a massage professional. I just basically used my skills and talents for friends and family. And I went traveling, and I came across a movement. And at that time, it was called the Tribe of Awakening Sovereignty. And that was my second big kind of step towards a higher initiation into the concept of sovereignty and into actions towards that. And some of you may be familiar with that organization that came out of the Tribe of Awakening Sovereignty. It became the Awakening Sovereignty Collective, and then it became known as Earth Nation. And I was part of that for a number of years, and promoting the concept of a new paradigm we could step into, where people do what they choose, right? And they're not forced and coerced to do things which they don't want to do in order to get by economically. And a new paradigm is a land of peace and plenty, is a compassionate, mutually nurturing, cooperative type of social environment and ecological environment. And permaculture feeds right into that. We are re-envisioning ourselves as permaculturalists, re-envisioning ourselves as a potential tremendous benefit to the environment, rather than the modern mind virus that thinks of humans as a virus, that we cannot be anything other than a parasite on the environment, which is absolutely not true. We have tremendous potential to increase biodiversity, to increase stability, to increase abundance and health in the environment. It's just a question of conscious design, and that's what permaculture is here to help us do. And so with the Tribe of Awakening Sovereignty, a friend of mine, Dakota, created that, and many people have been involved. And we're getting into alternative economic models using cryptocurrency. And I had already been involved with economic alternative models using WWOOF, the Willing Workers and Organic Farms, and Workaway and HelpX, and directly exchanging my labor for accommodation, and for sustenance and for community. I've been on the community building adventure ever since 2012. And so that was a continuation, an upward spiral, with healing that needed to be done with myself and with the others that were involved. And that took me to the next few years, and I want to share the next step up after. And that was when I was introduced to Gemstone University, which is an online school of law and history, essentially. And it's a private association that creates that university. That's called Pantera de Oro. Actually, now they changed their name to Pantera de Vida, which is Pantera meaning all the earth, and de Vida meaning life, or previously de Oro meaning gold. And my introduction, and many people's introduction to that society and that university, is a document that's on the web page, their home page, that's publicly available, which most of their content isn't because it's a private society. But the document is called An Overview of the World System of Bondage and Separation from Life. And I listened to it on audio, It's available for free on their website, gemstoneuniversity.org, and I recommend checking that out. It's also in text if you prefer text version. But it goes into the situation in which we find ourselves. That like I was saying, the nation, the countries, the economically focused extractive paradigm of empire, control, dominate, suppress the divine feminine and the life principle into submission for the benefit of a few controlling people, we'll call them. And the minutia of how they accomplish that. And it's a game of smoke and mirrors, like is seen in the Wizard of Oz, of getting people to believe and to render their creative capacity as sovereign creator beings into an alternative agenda, right? One that is extracting life. And we are all part of this system, this empire, and we are consenting. And I'm going to share some new information that I've just come across about the details of that. I'm calling this live stream, what am I calling it? Indigenous something or other. Whatever I'm calling it. It's about, indigenous sovereignty. Excuse me. I'm doing a juice fast. I'm just hanging in here. But indigenous sovereignty, how dare I forget? And may we all remember our indigenous roots. We are coming from a long line of evolving human beings, right? Men and women, our ancestors, that at some place, and another name for indigenous is place-based cultures, right? And another way to think about it is, sovereign creators. In the Aboriginal teachings, they talk about dream time, and that's our living reality, is that we are dreaming our world into being. And this is all something, people realize this, but then when we have conversations, it's like set aside, right? Because people want to speak in terms of a materialist, reductionistic, mainstream psychology, philosophy, worldview, paradigm. But also the ancestral wisdom is still present with us, and many people acknowledge it. Many people they refuse to acknowledge it, but then they're still using it because it's the fundamental fabric of our creatorship. This is how our world operates, is by our creative capacity. We're dreaming into being our lives, and it's a super soul soup. We are all spiritual beings coming from our imagination. We're bringing forward the next moment, right? The next manifestation. And this control and extract paradigm of empire actually subverts our capacity away from what we are wanting to imagine and create, and they siphon it and put it towards certain things. And they do this through Hollywood, through the media. The television actually was created as a mind control device, and we're fed these stories over and over again that are designed to take away our sovereignty, and it's now, it's a spiritual war. And before that, it was very much a physical war when during the age of discovery, when the colonial powers went out and conquered the territories of the known world and physically removed the indigenous people from the land, taking their sovereignty. But physical aggression like that uh, is not the end. Like it doesn't get them where they want to go, what they want to do. Right, what the colonial controlling powers want to do is actually get inside the mind, and they've done that very effectively, to have us give up our sovereign capacity and to go along with their agenda, of our own volition, right? Controlling our free will effectively by by my by leading us to believe that by controlling what it is we believe, right? By their creative and mischievous ways of influencing the thoughts and the emotions and the creative capacity of we men and women of mankind. So, recommend checking out the Gemstone University website, gemstoneuniversity.org, and reading or listening to the overview of the world system of bondage and separation from life to get a better understanding. And so that was a big leap kind of for me. That was around 2019 that I discovered that. And going into it goes into all the banking, and before that I had seen the Zeitgeist movies and I had seen Thrive, which cover these topics. But Gemstone is giving that a lot more detail, and that's written by Kenneth Scott of the House of Cousins, who's great mind, working towards freeing our minds and freeing our sovereign creative capacity and getting us back to our original indigenous, creating from within, nature. We are nature, and we're remembering that. And so in that process of remembering, we're grasping onto, we're getting our minds wrapped around what is the quagmire, what is the problem that we're facing, that we find ourselves enshrouded by. And when we understand the problem, we can navigate around it. We can transform it actually and transmute it, because that is the ultimate divine design, and that is the reason that we have this realm of suffering and limitation. It's just an opportunity for us to transform it into something beautiful, something that it's a learning experience. It's the university of the universe. But moving on with my story, in around 2020 came along, and we all know what came along with that. And I was delving into more, like I joined the Pantera de Oro, now known as Pantera de Vida private society, and got into more of their teachings inside Gemstone University, which I found very helpful. And also, something came my way that was called the quantum grammar. And I feel now at this point that was quite a distraction, that wasn't actually something legitimate. And that's where I'm at with that. But it was a distraction that was effective upon me. I thought, oh, this is very interesting. Some kind of linguistic technology that would allow better communication and sovereign empowerment for individual creators. That was how I understood it. And, there are people out there that still understand it that way. And that was introduced to me by David Wynn Miller through some YouTube videos. And then I got into realizing there were other people involved, Russell J. Gould, and a woman from New Zealand, from Aotearoa, who goes by Lady Crown, and she was another user of the quantum grammar that I was, tuning into her broadcasts online, teaching about indigenous sovereignty and our inherent divinity and the royalty that we hold. The incarnation of the divine is who we are. And there was a revelation that I just was given yesterday that I didn't quite understand the the linguistics of until now, but divine is die, meaning two, and vine meaning our lineage. So it's our mother's lineage and our father's lineage, and they had sacred union in order to produce an offspring that's us. And so divinity is literally, on a linguistic level, it's literally our lineage, the two lineages of mom and dad. So that was an interesting revelation. And I'm going to share more about, teachings of Curtis Kallenbach, that I had heard his name before, but I only just listened to his stuff last night. And that was on, let's see. I shared a link to his audio on my Law of the Earth Telegram channel. And I recommend you come check it out. Search for Law of the Earth with Keegan on Telegram. And the website is supremebeing.life. So that's Curtis Kallenbach. And I just was listening to his audios with another woman of going through these concepts, including that one of the divine, meaning from the vine of our lineage, of the life-giving principle that's inherent in our biology and all of life. Right? We are unified with all of life through our DNA. The Cosmic Serpent, another book that I'm reading right now that I recommend to understand the connection between the life principle, our DNA, the biology, the great cosmic serpent, which ties into all the wonderful mythology and wisdom teachings of cultures around the world. But I was distracted or enriched by the Lady Crown, by the quantum grammar world, and I got all into trying to understand what that was all about. And that was part of my journey with sovereignty, learning about the different flags and how the history of the East India trading companies, and just something also I learned from Gemstone, how these conquering powers in the age of discovery, they became our modern governments. They created the form, the legal society, the way it operates to this day, and with influences from more ancient things like common law, and but basically admiralty, maritime law was brought onto the land. And here's the great kicker is the whole the legal society paradigm is all about what's on paper, right? It's a fictional realm that we place ourselves into the history of the conquerors, and they do that with the birth certificate. And maybe the people out there watching are familiar with this. And I have been for some years, and taking steps to understand what it's all about. And this was an interesting revelation that shared by Curtis Kallenbach, which is why I'm excited to share it with you, kind of resound this truth as it resonates, and share and see what we think, what we feel about who we are and our status as one with all life, our status as sovereign divine creators, as indigenous, creating from within, as in tune and one with the earth, with the cosmos, Father Sky, Mother Earth, and all the beautiful nature beings that are part of us, right? The elements and the plants and animals we consume and interact with. All one. We're all one. We're many and we're one. And so the revelation that was shared, the wonderful capstone of the pyramid of knowledge that Kallenbach was sharing on this website that I mentioned, is it's about when we are we are spirits, right? We are eternal spirits of light. And when we incarnate into this earth realm, we do so at the moment that the sperm fertilizes the egg, not afterwards. And this is the teaching that I'm passing on from him. And there's you'll have to check out the thing to get supremebeing.life. You'll have to check it out to get the whole download, because it also the understanding of it as it applies to the law and how we can assert our truth, our inheritance, and be recognized and have it be effective in the world today, within the framework of the law. It has to do with traditions and what's honored, and how natural law is interweaved and unavoidable even within man-made law, right? They're trying to undo the natural law of our eternal free will and creator capacity, and turn us into willless automatons, right? The transhumanist agenda. But we are heirs to divine life principle of our creative capacity and to the earth. And so was described on this transmission I'm mentioning is about the sperm and the egg coming together, and the membrane around the egg being virgin territory, which is our land. And we are spirits that come to the land. And the very first land, which is given unto us by our mothers and passed down through the matrilineal line back into the first mother, is this membrane that's around the egg, the ovum. And we inherit that. And that is when our incarnated life truly begins, according to Kallenbach. And I'd love to have a conversation with people about this, because that is our divine right, and that makes our own biological property. That's the beginning of our physical bodies, and it's the beginning of our spirit's presence within our physical bodies. And everything that happens in our growth and development after that is subsequent, and that's the growth of our land, right? Our bodies are made of the earth, and they are made of that that given piece of earth. And I'll speak to briefly the ceremony that is referenced in this transmission, or you can get it as a book. It's also written down. The ceremony that people in England were practicing in old England, if somebody wanted to give land to somebody else, they would gather some people from the community and have witnesses of them literally picking up a clod of dirt from that land and giving it to the person who would then be the owner. And so that ceremony is a reflection, an outpicturing, and sacred ceremony of land changing ownership, passing from one to another, from our mothers to us, arrive as spirits, and we incarnate in our spirit's land in this first cell of our bodies. And so the other thing that in that transmission, and I kind of skipped to it because I was excited to share about this concept, because I had some other bits about my story on sovereignty that I've been growing through and from. But the other part of it is talking about how the birth certificate and how we are presumed to have entered into the realm of the dead, meaning the fictional realm that's entirely on paper, which is what is dealt with in the legal world. It's entirely about what's on paper. Doesn't have anything to do with the real world, with the living. This is what's happened when we are born, and they give us a birth date, and people accept that birth date and they use it throughout their lives, saying, I was born this day, that's like when my life began. And so by accepting that birth date, they are agreeing to the spirit and the life force energy being taken into the fictional realm on paper through the process of the birth certificate. And it has whole maritime corollary, which is why we go through the birth canal, and it's called the delivery room. And when they they break bulk, meaning they cut the package that's us, our vessel, and take off the cargo, meaning they steal the placenta. And ultimately, the revelation that I learned from Lady Crown, and I'm sorry, I'm just kind of mixing this story. I can tell it in a better way, but this is just spontaneous on the moment. I wanted to share this since I'm so excited about it after having a new piece of information come through. They attack us, right? Cutting the umbilical cord, and they take our property. That's part of us, which is the placenta. And yeah, I'm not going to go into that because there's also like a controversy about like whether or not this placenta is biologically property of mother or of baby, because it has genetics it has both within it, right? It's part of us, but it's also part of her. But it doesn't matter because of what I explained about the moment of fertilization being the beginning of life. And so this is interesting to you. Check out the supremebeing.life, and look into this information, and let me know what you think. I want to hear more perspectives And if this is brand new to you, welcome to an interesting, pivotal, crucial journey of learning that we must go through if we want to experience our heredity, our sovereignty, the truth of who we are, and truly be in life, and not stuck in a corporate fiction of the legal system of dominate control paradigm any longer. So that's the main message. I wanted to also just share like other points of interest for me, other growth moments, things that I participated with. At the same time I was in the quantum grammar world, I enrolled in the Law for Mankind program that's given by the Sovereign's Way Academy, which is a brilliant man named Greg Paul from Scotland that has wonderful teachings about the Sovereign's Way, meaning that the way of God, the way of the divine that lives in all of us, and how to embody that knowledge. And that's the quest I'm on, and that's what I'm looking to help others along in that path. And check out the postings. Law of Earth, come to the Telegram channel. I got a Facebook page, and we're growing and evolving, sharing wisdom teachings, sharing our personal process, our inner process. And this is a journey of embodying knowledge. That's what freedom is. It's embodying knowledge. And if we can communicate and express ourselves from a place of embodied knowledge, that is the key to freedom. I'll just mention other points. The House of Marcus Fellowship, I'm still a part of, and I recommend Robert Michael as a teacher. Really great as well for bringing your lawful wisdom and knowledge, getting your chops up, so to speak. Which I haven't been very diligent about because I'm doing so many other things, and I'm learning how to manage, and I could use help. So if my message is aligning with you, please reach out to me, because I'm looking for support. I've created the Bar Freedom Cell. Here, I'm looking for building a culture and community of mutual support where we help each other attain greater resilience, freedom, and live the lives of our dreams and not somebody else's dream that wants to control and extract our life force energy. Can I get an amen on a weekday? Sacred Honor Fellowship. Oh, there's another little story. I wrote like some different people that I've learned from. I think I actually discovered Robert Michael at an event that was put on by Michael Bertrano, who now is running the Sacred Honor Fellowship. So I'll just mention that as well. Although, there are some accusations from Robert Michael that Robert Bertrano is like taking the information that he learned from him and, taking advantage of the teachings and profiting off of it. But if it's reaching people, then that's good. We have to spread this knowledge. And if you can present it in such a way and spend your time and efforts to bring this knowledge in a digestible way to people and guide them into embodied knowledge and into freedom, then good. So I don't know what the whole story is about that, but these are just points of reference that I'm sharing I've experienced along my journey, and looking to rise together with others towards our inheritance as indigenous, as free. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Reach out to me. Let's be in touch and communication and learn to express ourselves fully as whole beings, as one with the life principle, the creative capacity, who we truly are, nature, divine mother, divine father, divine child, all united in one beautiful trinity. It's getting dark. Sending you lots of love. And happy blood moon eclipse coming up, by the way. I hope that you have a transformational and benevolent experience going through this eclipse season. So let's be in touch. Talk soon. Aloha.